All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Grant going over an introduction to integers foldable. So you should receive the foldable on a yellow piece of paper. If you are absent, make sure to get it from the worksheet bin, or you can copy the work in your notebook. So you get the foldable, and it looks like this. It's on a yellow piece of paper, so we are going to fold this first. You notice integers are on the right side, glue this into your notebook, and then problems on the left side. If you flip it over, the words are upside down. That's totally okay. I want you to take the left side, fold it over to this solid line here. That should fold over nicely. If you unfold it, take the right side and fold it over to the opposite line over here. And when you do that, you should make a beautiful foldable like this. Awesome. Let's get started. Integers. Integers are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. Okay. When we're talking about whole numbers, we're talking about all those counting numbers that you're used to. If I look at a number line here, you're used to the number 0 to about 100, but there's just only up to 20 on this number line. So these are all the numbers that you're used to. When we're talking about integers, we're also going to talk about their opposites, meaning we're going to start using negative numbers to the left of 0. So we're going to start using these negative numbers when we talk about integers. Okay, so integers now include negative numbers. Okay. All right. We have 3 definitions here, which is awesome. Remember, we want to box, highlight, underline, making sure that our vocab words are known to us, to let us know they are important. Negative numbers, so we're going to box this in. You can also highlight, underline, put a little cloud around it, whatever. Are less than 0. They are located to the left of 0 on a horizontal number line and below 0 on a vertical number line. So if we look at our number line here, this is a horizontal one because it goes from left to right. You see all of our negative numbers are to the left of 0. If I flipped my number line so it looked more vertical up and down, you notice that my negative numbers are now below 0. Okay. It says positive numbers. We're going to box in positive numbers because that's our keyword, or our vocab word. Are greater than 0. They are located to the right of 0 on a horizontal number line and above 0 on a vertical number line. So this is what you are more commonly used to. When we look at our horizontal number line, all of our positive numbers are to the right of 0. If we have a vertical number line, you notice that here is 0 and all of our positive numbers are above 0. Okay. 2 numbers are opposites. Opposites is also our vocab words. We want to box that in. If on a number line they are the same distance from 0 but on different sides of 0. 0 is its own opposite. I kind of want to put a squiggly line under 0 is its own opposite, and we're going to talk about that more when we talk about opposites. Okay. I'll briefly say, if we look at our number line here, let's say we have the number 3. Okay. From 0, 3 is how many spaces? 1, 2, 3. So its opposite is the same distance from 0 but on the other side of 0. So if we have a positive 3, I know its opposite is going to be somewhere in the negative range. And I want to go the same amount of spaces. So if I went 3 spaces here, I want to go 3 spaces to the other side. 1, 2, 3. So the opposite of positive 3 is going to be negative 3. Okay, so that's just an example, and again, we'll go over more of these when we go through this foldable. If you open up the foldable and you turn it around, our first set is to locate each integer and its opposite on the number line provided. So they give us 3 integers here, and they give you a beautiful number line to use. So when we locate them, we want to plot them, meaning put a dot. So if we want to locate positive 5 on the number line, so if I look at my number line, I want to go to the right because it's positive. So I'm going to look for the number 5, and I'm going to put a dot. Okay. Now, I want to look for its opposite. Its opposite is the same distance from 0, but on the other side of 0. So if I know that 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces from 0, I know its opposite has to be 5 spaces from 0. So we're going to go the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have positive 5 and negative 5. You can plot them in a different color, or you can just plot them in the same color. But as long as they're the same distance from 0, you know that they're opposites. For the next one, negative 3. We're going to locate negative 3 in the number line. I know negative numbers are to the left of 0, so I know it's going to be on the left side, and I'm going to start at 0, look to the left until I see negative 3, and plot a point. Its opposite is the same distance from 0, but on the other side, so I have to figure out how many spaces negative 3 is away from 0. 1, 2, 3, which means I'm going to go 3 spaces in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3. So my opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. Same thing for positive 4. I'm going to look for positive 4 on the number line, plot a point. I know this is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from 0, which means its opposite is going to be 4 spaces in the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. Easy. All right. Find the opposite of each number, okay? The opposite of negative 12, if it's not a negative number, if it is a negative number, its opposite is going to be positive. Just like if a number is positive, its opposite is going to be negative, okay? So if I have negative 12, my opposite is going to be positive 12. If I have a positive 14, my opposite is going to be negative 14. Just like positive 8, my opposite is going to be negative 8. I have a negative 9, my opposite is going to be positive 9. 0, now, we talked about in the definition of opposite, and it said something about 0. It actually said that 0 is its own opposite, okay? So 0 is that special one where the opposite is itself, okay? So the opposite of 0 is going to be 0. And I have negative 62. The opposite of negative 62 is going to be positive 62. All right, that's easy. The middle section says, write an integer to represent each situation. Explain the meaning of 0 in the situation. I'm also asking you to box keywords. When we talk about positive and negative integers, there are certain keywords that tell us that a number is positive or negative. Tons of examples here, so we're going to go through each one. So, number 1, losing 10 pounds. Okay, there is a keyword here that tells us that whether 10 is a positive 10 or a negative 10. If you're losing something, okay, it's most likely going to be negative. So we're going to box our keyword for losing. And then we have 10, but losing means negative, so we're going to put a negative in front. Okay. Now, explain the meaning of 0. If you did not lose or you did not gain anything, which means you stayed the same in terms of losing or gaining weight. So 0 means you did not lose or gain pounds. All right, a $300 deposit. So this deals with money. So your parents, whenever they get paid, they get money deposited into their bank account, which means money goes into the bank account, which means your bank account balance can only go up. If money's going into it, your money can only go up. So deposit is our keyword here, and that tells us that 300 is going to be positive. Now, you can put a plus sign for positive 300, or you can just leave it blank. It's up to you. Either way, it still means positive 300. Okay. 0 in this case, okay, it does not necessarily mean you have a 0 balance. It just means that your money did not get taken out or put into your account. Money or out of account. For number 3, 48 meters below sea level. So we're talking about sea level, and we talk about sea level, they usually have like a mountain and we have a sea. And sea level here, that's actually our 0. Okay? So anything above the sea level is going to be positive, anything below it is going to be negative. Okay? So when we talk about sea level, our keyword is below. Below meaning negative, we're going to have a negative 48. And 0 in this case is going to be our sea level. Number 4, a $100 withdrawal. So again, this is still coming out of a bank account. Our keyword here meaning withdraw. So withdraw is meaning something's coming out of the account. So when something's coming out of the account, does that make your account positive or negative? Well, it's going to make it negative because it's coming out of the account. And it's the same thing for number 2 in terms of 0, meaning nothing went into the account or out of the account. For number 5, gaining 9 points. Let's say you gain 9 points in a basketball game or a football game. You made a touchdown and some field goals. Okay, gaining is our keyword here, and that's going to mean positive. So we're not only going to have a 9, we're going to have a positive 9. Okay. In terms of sports, what do you always start at as your score? You start off at 0, so 0 is going to be our score. Is no points or 0 score. No points. For number 6, a loss of 3 yards in a football game. A loss of 3 yards in a football game. So remember, on the football field, you're going back and forth, and when you lose 3 yards, it means you're further away from the touchdown, from the goal line. Okay. Our keyword here is going to be loss. Loss meaning negative. So we have our integer of 3. It's not only 3, it's going to be a negative 3. Okay. And 0 in this case, when we talk about 0 yards, are you gaining any yards? Are you losing any yards? No, it means you didn't move the ball anywhere. Okay. All right, which number is its own opposite? Well, we encountered that same question in finding the opposite of each number. It was also on the front page. The number that has its own, the number that is its own opposite is the magical 0. All right, 2 more sections. Plot the following integers on the vertical number line. So we have a beautiful vertical number line here, okay? And we are just going to plot these points, okay? I would recommend labeling these A through whatever letter we get through, so that when we plot it on the number line, we can label it so that we know which dot is what. All right, because if we just put a bunch of dots on the number line, we don't know what those dots mean. But if we associate it with a letter or match it up with a letter, then I know that this dot means this letter. Okay. I have plain 8. There's no positive sign, there's no negative sign, which means it can only be a positive 8, because with positive numbers, you don't have to put a plus sign with it. So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to look for positive, which is above 0.
Mr. Smith, please come to the front office. Mr. Smith, please come to the front office.
And I'm going to plot a point here, and I'm going to label it letter A. For B, negative 13, I know negative numbers are below 0. We're going to start at 0. Look for negative 13. I'm going to plot a point and put the letter B. For C, the opposite of negative 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, the units do not matter in terms of plotting it on the number line. That just means that number line could mean degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius or money or sea level, but the number line stays the same. It's just what it means. Okay. If we're looking for the opposite of negative 7, okay, so let's identify. If I have negative 7, meaning below 0, negative 7 is 7 spaces away from 0, which means I need to go 7 in the opposite direction, so it's going to be positive 7. That's going to be letter C. A debt of $6, okay? Debt in this case, okay, it means you owe somebody money. It means I am in your debt. It means I owe you money, okay? So debt, it meaning a negative, so we have negatives $6, okay? Which means I need to find negative 6 on my number line. So I start at 0, go below 0, negative 6. And that's going to be letter D. For E, 2 degrees Fahrenheit below 0, okay? So it's not just 2 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's also below 0, okay? Any number below 0 is going to be a negative number, which means I have negative 2. So I'm going to find negative 2 on my number line and label it F. If we look at letter G, a $4 refund, okay, you love when you get refunds. Refunds meaning you're getting money back, okay, you're putting money into your account, okay. So refund is going to be positive. So I have a positive 4, which means I'm going to go above 0 to positive 4, put a dot, and label it G. For H, a $14 credit, okay? Credit means you have stuff to spend, okay? You have that money, you have that $14 to spend, okay? It's like getting 14 coins at an arcade, you have 14 coin credit, okay? So credit is going to be a positive word. It's like when Miss Grant gives you credit for work, it means you're getting positive points toward your work, okay? So we're looking for positive 14, so we're going to go above 0 to 14 on the number line, plot a point, and put H. I, an elevation of 15 feet, okay? When we talk about elevation, we are talking about sea level, okay, and how high it is above sea level, okay? So elevation in this case is going to be a positive integer. And elevation usually talks about how high a mountain is or how high something is above sea level. So we want positive 15, so we're going to start at 0, go to positive 15, put a dot, and label it I. J, the opposite of 3. Oh, you're like, Miss Grant, that's a lot, okay? We want to find the opposite of 3, so we're going to use our number line here to help us, okay? So let's start at 3. That's what we know. Let's first find the opposite of 3, okay? So the opposite of positive 3 is going to be negative 3. So now we're at negative 3. Now I want the opposite of this opposite, okay? So the opposite of negative 3 is going to be positive 3, okay? So the opposite of 3 is actually 3. That's going to be J. And I will give you a hint, the opposite of the opposite, this is always itself. So it's the number itself. All right, for K, the opposite of negative 5, okay? Let's do it on the number line, okay? Let's start at negative 5. Let's first find the opposite, which is going to be positive 5. Now let's find the opposite of that number, which is negative 5, okay? So we're going to put a dot and label it K. And just like before, the opposite of the opposite is the number itself, which is going to be negative 5, which is what we plotted. All right, last section. Compare using less than or greater than. So remember, this is the alligators, and the alligator always eats the bigger number, okay? When you look at a number line here, okay, the further you are to the right of 0, your numbers always get larger, 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 bigger, 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 okay? When you go on the negative side, though, the further away you go from 0, the smaller your numbers get. So even though this is negative 9, and you're thinking, oh yeah, negative 9 is bigger than negative 8, because 9 is bigger than 8. Well, that's not true, because 9 is further away from 0 than 8, so 9 is actually smaller than 8, okay? So when we're moving to the left, our numbers are getting smaller, and when we're going to the right, our numbers are getting bigger, okay? And we're going to use this number line to help us. I also recommend drawing a number line on the bottom, okay? So we have negative 7 and we have negative 9, okay? On our number line, I'm going to plot it. I have negative 7 and negative 9, okay? Which number is closer to 0? It's going to be negative 7, so I want the alligator to eat negative 7 because it's closer to 0. So on here, I want the alligator to eat negative 7, so that one's larger. For negative 20 and negative 17, okay, if I plot it on my number line, we have negative 20, negative 17. Which one of these is closer to 0? Well, it's going to be negative 17. So we want the alligator to eat negative 17. So on here, we want the alligator to eat negative 17. 0, and negative 1. Okay? If we look at our number line here, we have 0 and negative 1. Well, which one is more to the right? Well, it's going to be 0, so 0 is larger than negative 1, so we want the alligator to eat 0. For 12 and negative 4, any positive number is always going to be bigger than any negative number. So we know that 12 is going to be bigger than negative 4. For negative 35 and negative 33, okay? I don't have that on my number line here, but I can imagine that negative 33 is going to, or negative 35 is going to be further than negative 33, because if I keep counting to the left, negative 33 is going to come before negative 35. So negative 33 is closer to 0, so that's going to be the larger number. Negative 4 and negative 6. Okay? If I use my number line here, I've got negative 4 and negative 6. Which number is closer to 0? Well, it's going to be negative 4, so I want the alligator to eat negative 4. Make sure that on your paper that you have the alligator eating the larger number. All right. Order from least to greatest, okay? And this is where you really want to use number lines. You can also draw a number line that helps you, okay? So let's plot some of these. I have positive 3, positive 9, negative 7, negative 5, and 0, okay? When you're ordering from least to greatest, you're ordering from the smallest number to the largest number. So when I plot all these points, I'm going to list them from the left to the right, okay? So the one furthest from 0 is negative 7. The next one is negative 5. The next one is going to be 0. The next one's going to be 3. And my last one's going to be 9. All right. We're going to erase all of our points. Number 2. Okay. I won't be able to plot all of these, but I will be able to plot most of them. Negative 19, negative 13, negative 22 is going to be somewhere over here beyond negative 20, and negative 15. So again, we want to list these from least to greatest, so going from the furthest one away from 0 and then going towards 0. So the furthest one away from 0 that I can actually see is going to be negative 22. The next number that I see is negative 19. If I keep going, the next number is negative 15. And the last number I see is negative 13. Do you always need to use a number line for this? No, I highly recommend it though. It helps you visualize where these numbers are. Okay. Number 3 and number 4, we are actually not going to use a number line for those so that we can practice not using it. So I have positive 21, positive 42, negative 39, negative 2, negative 31, and 0. Okay. When you're talking about from least to greatest, remember you want to list all your negative numbers first from the one that's furthest away from 0. So if I'm looking at my